Well, happy Thursday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today and every day for these devotions that come out of our Bible reading plan here at First Baptist Church. Today, we are in the 18th chapter of the book of Exodus. And this is an interesting chapter because Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian, comes to visit him while they're camped at Mount Horeb. And he brings with him Moses' wife, his daughter, Zipporah, and their two sons, who apparently Moses had sent back to be with her family during some of the Exodus experiences. So Jethro and Zipporah and Moses and her two sons come to him. And also in this chapter, Jethro gives his son-in-law, Moses, some really good leadership advice. One note, I'm convinced that Jethro was a follower of the true God of Yahweh, the God of the Israelites. He's a priest of Midian, and later in this chapter, he offers a sacrifice to God. And remember, God had people outside of just the Jewish people. I mean, Abraham, the father of the Hebrews, met a priest of the Lord named Melchizedek. There are others mentioned in the Old Testament. So Jethro was of the Midianites who were descendants of Abraham through Abraham's second wife, Keturah, whom he married after his first wife, Sarah, died back in the book of Genesis. So the Midianites are direct descendants of Abraham. And so God had people who preached and worshiped him and were priests to him outside the Hebrew people. There's very explicit teaching in the Old Testament for the priests to the Hebrew people, the Jewish people, the nation of Israel. But don't limit your thinking to the fact to the idea that the only people of God on planet Earth during this time were Jews. God had people who were not Jews who believed in him, worshiped him. And I think Jethro is representative of that. Now, the devotional thought for me is found in verses 5 and following. So let's read that together. Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moses in the wilderness where he was camped at the Mount of God. And he sent word to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you, with your wife and her two sons with her. And then Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and he bowed down and kissed him. And they ask each other, now this is interesting, they ask each other of their welfare. How you doing? How's it been? What's been happening? And then they went into the tent. Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardships that had befallen them on the journey and how the Lord had delivered them. I don't know about you. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that tent when Moses was saying, hey, Jethro, I went down there and then Aaron touched the rod here and then this turned to blood and here's all these frogs and here's the hail and the darkness and wow, when that Red Sea collapsed. I would have loved to have been in that tent listening to Moses in his own words describe to Jethro, his father-in-law, everything that had happened. Wow. I know we know a lot because we have the Bible, and I am so thankful God has given us his word with all these stories. But there's details that took place that are not in the Bible. And I'm curious by nature. I'd love to know all those details. Maybe when we get to heaven, I would like to know more about Moses' family. I mean, his wife and sons come, and all we're told about is his father-in-law. We're not told hardly anything about Zipporah, his wife, and his two boys. I would have loved to know more about that, maybe when we get to heaven. But back to Moses describing all the events of the Exodus to his father-in-law. What it said to me is you and I need to be sharing our stories with each other. We need to be talking with each other. You need to be talking with other believers and other believers talking with you about what God is doing in your life and their life. Sharing with one another stories of when you got to invite someone to church, or someone came to church, or someone got saved. Sharing with each other stories of when you had an opportunity to give a gospel tract to someone, or to talk to somebody about Jesus, to share the plan of salvation with someone in your life groups and in your D groups and in your friendships. You need to be sharing these stories because we encourage one another when we talk about what God is up to. I mean, notice Jethro's response after Moses shared all this with him. In verse 9, Jethro, he rejoiced. He rejoiced over all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel in delivering them from the hand of the Egyptians. Verse 10, so Jethro said, blessed be the Lord. It caused him to praise God. He rejoiced and he praised God. And then down there in verse 11, it strengthened his faith. Now I know how great God is. And in verse 12, he offered sacrifices. Do you understand that when you hear what God is doing in someone else's life and they hear what God is doing in your life, it encourages all of us that our faith is strengthened. We praise God. We rejoice. There will be a lot more spiritual health and growth if we talked on Sundays more about what Jesus has done that week than we do about the ball games or the weather or politics. Start talking with one another about what Jesus is doing in your life. It will build up the faith of all of us. That's the takeaway for me. So let's be encouraged and rejoice by sharing with each other the stories. May not see the Red Sea party, but I'll tell you something. When someone comes to Jesus and their life is changed, that's a pretty big miracle worth celebrating. So let's share with each other. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow as we do what we do every Friday, the first half of this year, and look at Proverbs, one of the chapters in the book of Proverbs, be in chapter 16 tomorrow. God bless you. See you then. And then I'll see you Sunday and then Monday. God bless you, everybody.